I believe we're just waiting on Paul White. So let's give another minute or two.
Just so everybody is aware, I actually clicked on start recording. I can either just leave it on while we wait for Paul to join, or I can turn it off and then turn it back on when we call the meeting officially to order.
Let's see. I see Paul has joined, Sonny, so I guess we're good to just stay, we'll just stay connected here. The recording has started, and Commissioner, are you ready to begin? Okay. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. I am calling this meeting of the Public Safety Communications Task Force to order. It is 2:02 on September 15th, 2023. As a reminder, the meeting is being recorded and the recording will be posted on the task force webpage following the meeting. So let's start with a roll call of the task force members, most of whom I can see on the screen. Commissioner Morrison, good afternoon.
Hello.
Paul, hello. Paul White. Hello.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Michael Wright, good afternoon.
Hello. Hello.
And Mike Dunges.
Hello.
Hello. Ron Kumitz. Now, Ron, I see in the list, but I don't see him on my screen. Ron is here. I see his hand is raised now electronically. Good afternoon, Ron. And Jim Mack.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So the gang is all here. And we have several members of the public with us. So I will go down through the list, either calling your phone number or your name if I can see it, and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and any affiliation you have, if you care to share any or all of that. So I'm going to start. I've seen a phone number that ends in 7415. Would you care to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. My name is Wayne Stack. I'm with Alteris Technology Partners in Richmond, Virginia.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. And Stephen Whitaker, I believe this is you, ending in 6647.
I'll take your word for it, but I am listening.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. I see Jim Morgan.
Good afternoon, Jim Morgan with Alteris Technology Partners.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Sonny Johnson is here, not as a member of the public, but filling in for Callie in administrative support today. Thanks for being here, Sonny. Kim Cheney.
I think we lost Kim and he's in the lobby waiting to get back in. So let's see if we can get him in here.
Okay. There he is. You're back, Kim.
Barb, can I ask you, Barb, you mentioned the recording started. Did the transcript start as well? Because Sonny might not be familiar with that feature.
Let me check.
I am familiar with that feature, and yes, the transcript has started.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, Kim Cheney, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Kim Cheney. I'm a former member of the board of Vermont Public Safety Authority and various other civic enterprises. And I'm interested in the committee's work. And so I tune in from time to time and send you suggestions when I hope they will be helpful.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. I just saw a message pop up from the Commissioner Morrison that you're not hearing. Can you hear us now, Jen?
I can.
Okay.
It's got to be a Wi-Fi thing here. It's only ever at headquarters that I have trouble with this. So
okay.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Excellent. Good. All right. I'm going to continue.
Speaking of that, can you hear me now?
I hear someone. Yes.
All right. Sound problem fixed.
Oh, Ron. Okay. All right. I wasn't sure who that was. Okay. All right, continuing down our list of guests, Philip Sisk.
Yes, good afternoon, Phil Sisk with Mission Critical Partners. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Not a member of public, but a member of the Department of Public Safety, Mandy Worcester. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi there, Mandy Worcester. I work for Department of Public Safety doing policy development.
All right, thanks for being here. So that takes us through the introductions. Let's move on to approval of the agenda. The agenda was distributed to the task force members last week, or earlier this week, I'm sorry, and it's also available on our website. Do task force members have any changes to the agenda?
I think we should consider set the next meeting date up to just after public comment. In the event that we do go into executive session, folks don't have to wait around to find out when we're meeting again.
Okay. We can do that. I think we're going to probably anticipate having another meeting to discuss the questions and answers, so we might want to keep that in mind when we discuss that. Okay. Okay. Any other changes? Okay. So
Would you like a motion to that effect?
So yes, so we have yes, if you would make a motion to move that up, that'd be good.
I would move that we move set next meeting date from the second to last thing to directly after public comment.
I'll second that, Jim Mack.
Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion on the agenda? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand, please, and say or say aye. I see Jen, Paul, Jim Mack, Ron Kumitz, Michael, and Mike, and myself. So the agenda is approved as amended. And remind me when we get there to move that set meeting date up on the agenda. Okay, so next item is a discussion of the task force priorities during the RFP process. So in the last meeting, the commissioner reminded us that we do need to continue this discussion, and we've had several recommendations so far, such as legal counsel for the task force, stakeholder engagement and communications, and other items. So I'm going to open the floor up to discussion about what else we need to be considering while we wait for the RFP process to evolve. I would make a recommendation that we take note of the priorities and then develop a plan maybe at a future meeting on how we're going to tackle those priorities, because I think we're going to want to spend the bulk of our time today on the questions and answers. But I'll defer quickly to Commissioner Morrison to see if she has any thoughts on that.
No, I think you set the table well. This is an opportunity for task force members to bring into the group ideas, and we don't have to dive deep on them, but let's try to get a bit of a laundry list of what we should be focusing on as the RFP process plays out, but after we get the answers to the questions from the big RFP done. So I open up the floor to our fellow task force members and shoot out your ideas.
So I think that the stakeholder engagement thing is going to be one of our most critical parts, because, I mean, while the state agencies are a very top-down sort of management, those local agencies tend to be very sensitive about having things imposed upon them, and I think they really need to be part of. They need to feel that we're not dumping something on them, that we're trying to give them something that works for them.
Yes, good point. And I agree. Building things from the ground up was helpful in the development of the 911 system, or from the, I should say, from the local level up. So I would think that would work well here as well. I'll mention too, that I did send out that stakeholder update earlier today. I had said I would send it Wednesday, and then my week just went a bit sideways. So that went out late this morning to a variety of stakeholders, and I would say feel free to distribute as you see fit to get the word out on what we're doing. Okay. Other comments?
Well, we can leave the legal counsel RFP on there. It's something that I'm pecking away at as I get a moment. So hopefully I'll have a more substantive update. But that definitely is something we need to keep churning on. You know, it has been suggested to us that this group should be discussing pilot projects. I think we should put that on the list, and perhaps not at this meeting, which is a special meeting, I believe. We have a more fulsome conversation about what that might look like for the task force in the weeks between now and when we make a decision on awarding a contract. So that gives us, go ahead.
Not that
Go
that
ahead,
needs
Mike.
a second, but I do happen to agree with the commissioner that determining maybe what those locations would be or could be before the RFP is complete is probably smart.
Okay.
That gives us 3 things so far on the list. What else? This isn't the last opportunity you'll get, but I just thought we'd start building that list. All right, very good.
I have a
Jamie,
couple
go ahead,
thoughts. Was there somebody else going to say something, or? One is a kind of a housekeeping task, but I would really like to see, and maybe this is a little premature just yet, but I would really like to see us set up a recurring meeting time once we're at a spot where we can. I'm starting to find that scheduling becomes a little difficult because I want to hold spaces for this meeting. I think we might need to get through the questions and answers before we can really do that, but just throwing it out there for the list. The other thing that came to mind to me earlier today is we need to keep a running list of legislative asks or potential legislative asks. I've kind of started my own list on that, but we can set up a agenda item perhaps to discuss that or review it at some point. And then 2 other things that have come to my mind through conversations with other entities. One is how does 988 fit into this discussion of an integrated public safety communication system, and also the notion of triage call handling, or triage call handling. I'll leave it at that for now, so that there's a screening for specific things, and in maybe a more formal manner. Might involve electronic call handling protocols and that type of thing. So for the list, I'll put how does 988 fit in and triage call handling.
And the list of potential needs, legislative needs. So
and yes. Okay.
Any other
Anything
input?
else? Okay. All right. Hearing none, I think we're ready to move on. Would be public comment, but my memory is serving me well that we've moved, set the next meeting date up to this point in the agenda. So we want to take a look at next meeting dates with the assumption that we're going to need another session for questions and responses. I will say that based on Sani's schedule and Callie's schedule, we do not have administrative support next Wednesday. My thought was Monday if we're going to be dealing with questions and answers?
Monday's going to be really difficult, but I can try if that works for the group. I could do Tuesday anytime after 12 noon with little degree of rearranging.
I would prefer off Mondays because Mondays are always a disaster. Tuesdays would be better.
Monday
think
fun
most
day.
Yeah.
Okay,
Tuesday works for me.
sounds like we're zeroing in on Tuesday. I could do 11 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon.
2 is fine with me.
Either works for me.
I am available on Tuesday, basically after 11.
Okay,
Okay.
2 o'clock would work then, it sounds like.
What about Mike Dunges and Paul White?
So I currently have a meeting that I could probably move without too much trouble at 2 p.m. if we landed there. I
Would
could do
11
3. I
Does
could do
11
3.
does 11 work, Mike?
Not right now. I'm triple
Okay.
booked already, but I can
Yeah.
also try to make that work.
No, 11 would be challenging for me, so let's perhaps try the 2 o'clock unless, let's see what Paul says. Paul, how about Tuesday at 2? Okay, I think we need to press on with that. Do you want to schedule 90 minutes at 2 o'clock? We might not need it, but.
Yeah, I think so. And Sonny, you'll be able to send that meeting invite out right after this one, so it's on the calendars. Okay. Tuesday at 2 will need to be a special meeting, and we'll put the agenda out on Monday.
And let's, oh, Ron, you got feedback, Ron. Thank you. Yes, so we'll get the agenda out on Monday. We'll hold that. And then I think an agenda item at that meeting should be setting up the recurring regular schedule. And then if we have to plop things in, for special meetings, that's fine. But I agree with you that having a space to hold regularly on the calendar is going to make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay.
All right, very good.
All right, so, okay, we have moved on to public comment. Could I get a show of hands on members of the public who would like to make a comment today so that we can determine if we need to, what our time frame should be here? Okay, I see Kim Cheney. I'm going to assume, Stephen, that you'd also like to comment. I'm seeing no other hands, so I will start with Kim. Let's say no more than 5 minutes, Kim.
Oh, this won't take that long.
Okay.
I sent proposals to think about for the RFP for the attorney, and I just wonder if I had some trouble with my computer. I just wonder if they came through. I sent it to Jen and Barbara.
I did see it. I have not had a chance to review it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to know if they got through. Thank you.
Sure did. Thank you. Okay. Stephen, would you like to comment?
Yes, please. So I would highly encourage you to look at Kim's suggestions. He has the most experience with wrestling with the governance issues of owning public safety communications infrastructure. Central Vermont has been through the ringer. Chittenden County is still going through the ringer. But yet there's this urgent need to get Addison and Rutland County up and, or at least approved, a conceptual plan and approved by year end. Because you can't bank on even the first bill that moves, meaning the Budget Adjustment Act, being passed before, you know, late March. So you're going to basically put a real wrench in the works if you don't approve some pilot projects before the end of this year. Another thing you should put on your list for activities would be to consider putting out an RFP for expert financial modeling of all the revenue sources, the Universal Service Fund, the telephone personal property tax, the connection fee, etc. Those long-term funding sources are a prerequisite to getting cooperation from municipal agencies. If they don't see where a share of the operating expense is going to come from, they're going to be really skeptical of any investment of energy in cooperating around this project. So that's something that has been proposed, tried to get it into the legislation. It was too complex. It does fall within the authority of this task force to do it because of the references to sustainable funding, financial sources. So you could get that study done and have it teed up for the legislature, because they are planning to wrestle with this issue next year. But they won't be able to wrestle with this issue next year if the study isn't done of what's the potential revenue from all these different sources, how much uncollected taxes are there in the right-of-way. The right-of-way is the fee, is the other one I failed to mention. So anyway, there's language already available for that. It's been shared numerous times. But I hope that what I said to some members regarding, you know, you could be collecting data in Rutland County and convening stakeholders and getting ready so that when the consultants, you're also referring to an October timeline to select a contractor. The contractor's not going to start work until they have a signed contract, and that could even be into November. So if you stand any chance of having pilot project designs ready for approval, conceptual designs ready for approval in 2023, you're going to need to be collecting data before those contracts are signed. So that's what I sent to Donjus, Jen, Paul, I guess, and you could share it with whoever you want. That's probably enough for now. There's, you know, this is not a spectator sport. There's work to do if you're going to get results in time to not have this thing go off the rails in the legislature. And so far, we got nothing to show. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments, Stephen. Any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move on to the big RFP, bidder questions and responses, possible executive session. I have it written where the commissioner will kind of tee up this conversation, but I will remind everybody that if there's a need to move into executive session, we first need to have a finding that premature general knowledge of the things we're going to discuss would put us at a disadvantage. Then we can move on to a motion to move into executive session. So, Commissioner, do we have, we have the list of questions. We have some draft responses going around. Anything else you want to add to tee this up?
No, just that there are multiple vendors who submitted questions, many of which are the same question, sort of, said in different ways. So I think we have to have some very clear attention to detail about being consistent in how we answer these so that we're not providing conflicting responses just because a question was posed in a little bit of a different manner about the same topic by more than one vendor. And I do believe that premature general knowledge of the contents of the answers would put us at a disadvantage in contract negotiations and would inadvertently provide confusion to the landscape for potential bidders if we were to have these conversations in public.
Can I consider that a motion?
You may consider that a motion.
Okay.
I will
Is there-
second that.
And I'm sorry, I didn't see who that was.
Dunges.
Thank you, Mike. Is there any discussion on this finding? Okay. All in favor of the finding that premature general knowledge would put the task force at a disadvantage and perhaps add confusion to the process? All in favor, raise your hand, please, and or say aye. So I am seeing Jen, Michael Wright, Jim Mack, Mike Dunges, and Ron Kumitz, myself, all have our hands raised. It looks like Paul may be away from his desk at the moment. So that motion carries. And now we can move on to a motion to move into executive session, which would not have any more discussion. So if we want to talk about that ahead of time before the motion, now's the time, or we can just go right to the motion.
I move that we go into executive session.
Thank you, Jen.
Seconded.
Thank you, Jim. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Myself, Jen, Mike, Michael, Jim, and Ron all have their hands raised, and Paul White is away from his desk right now. So we will move to executive session. Sonny, Ron is asking for us to send a link to the executive session. Do you have that link?
I can send it. I'll do it.
Okay, Commissioner will send it. And I will see the task force members in the executive session link shortly.